Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in on this Tuesday, the 16th of August, 2022. Glad to have you guys here. Let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. Wait, I started the charts, didn't I? Start them. Why are they not running? The computers. Now listen. My computer is having a brain fart. Come on. Start the charts. I don't know. Is it running or not? Hit the record button again. Okay, there we go. Finally. There we go. We got the charts going. Okay. This is what we're looking at. Dr. Doom Rubini sees either a hard U.S. landing or an uncontrolled inflation. So, I'll tell you what, he's on the right track. It says, economist Nouriel Roubini says there are two options for the United States economy. Given the Federal Reserve's most aggressive tightening campaign in decades, and we're going to either have an economic hard landing, he says, or inflation at persistently elevated levels. So, no choice, it's going to go one way or the other. Well, okay, I'm going to read a little bit more of this, and I'm going to say what I think is going to happen. And, you know, guys, I predicted this thing that we're having right now, like, I could almost say years ago. But I predicted that the Fed wouldn't get this far. I did not think that the Fed would get this far with it. And I thought the markets would nosedive harder and faster than they have. I think what happened is I think the Fed's done some sort of backdoor stimulus I don't know anything about that changed the outlook from what my original forecast was. I thought the markets were going to drop down to 26,000. They only went down to 30. I'm not talking about the markets. I'm talking about the Dow Jones, of course. And then I thought that the Fed would turn policy around completely. Well, they haven't. They're still trying to tighten. And that's because the markets didn't drop very much. It's all about supporting the markets. And the Fed has done and achieved a longer, deeper tightening cycle than I thought they would. I thought by now this thing would be over. But no, they're still going to meet at Jackson Hole. And they're still going to work at quantitative tightening, which that's going to throw the system over. $95 billion a month out of the system rather than quantitative easing. Pulling $95 billion a month out, that's going to topple it. But we're going to have to wait for that. But so he's going to get what Rubini's talking about here. And this is why I differ with him. He's talking about the hard landing. We are going to get our hard landing when the Fed starts pulling $95 billion. And they're not going to stop all this until they start to get the hard landing. See, that's what's going to stop the Fed is a hard landing. So we're going to get our hard landing. But on the other side of that, they can't let the economy collapse. They're going to have to pump the money back in. They're going to have to stimulate again. So the hard landing is what's going to give them the excuse to go back to stimulus. And then we're going to get our inflation. So we're going to get all of it. Rubini thinks we're going to get either or either, a hard landing so he says here, economist Nouriel Roubini said there are two options for the U.S. economy. Given the Federal Reserve's most aggressive tightening campaign, an economic hard landing or inflation. I'm thinking we're going to get both. First a hard landing, then inflation. And it's going to be massive, the amount of inflation it's going to be. Because this is a hyper bubble we're in. Okay, it says inflation expectations are going to get unhinged, said Roubini, whose presence on the prescience on the housing bubble that led to the U.S. financial crisis of more than a decade ago earned him the nickname Dr. Doom. Or if that happens, then we are going to have a hard landing. Either way, you're going to get a hard landing or you're going to get inflation out of control. So this hint right here, what we're looking at, he says you're going to get inflation getting out of control. You know what that's called? Hyperinflation. So I agree with him there. Inflation's going to get totally out of control. That's called hyperinflation. We haven't seen hyperinflation yet. I know a lot of people have talked a great game, said, okay, we've had No, we haven't had hyperinflation yet. We haven't even had the initial stages of hyperinflation, which is called the acceleration phase. We haven't even actually, we're just starting to get into it here a little bit toward the acceleration phase. But what the Fed's doing is going to control that. They're going to cause disinflation. The hard landing is deflationary. Well, we're going to go from deflation, or at the very least, profoundly powerful disinflation. Boom! Right into them having to turn around on their heels and go back to soft monetary policy. Easy free money again. Start up the printers, boys. Start up the printers. Then we're going to go into this, what's called inflation getting out of control. That's what he terms it. We're going to get the worst of it all. And, in the end, it's just going to destroy the middle class. There'll be no middle class anymore. That's sad because you're going to have ultra rich and ultra poor in the world. And that's the kind of world we don't like. We don't want that. We don't want this. And we don't need a central bank. The fact is, I'm going to ask a question. Why do we even need government? What would happen if we had a society? I'm just asking the question. What would happen if we had a society where we didn't have any governments, and instead, people, first off, there'd be no taxes. Can you imagine what business would do? How that would accelerate growth? Not paying half of your money to a government, it just keeps sucking money, this big, huge So the picture of world, the government's gone. You'd say, well, crime would get out of control. No, it wouldn't. Because there would be private police forces that would spring up everywhere. And you just pay them. You just pay them. It'd be, like you get a doctor now. You get on the phone, and you call up, instead of getting a new family doctor, you get a new private police force to protect your house. They'd drive by every night at 8 o'clock, and check your house is fine for a price, maybe $50 or $100 a month. But you'd be making all kinds of money. You wouldn't have any taxes to pay anymore. Businesses would just thrive. Just minimalize. Maybe have just a little bit of local government, but no, just what would the world be like? Now, this is my question. What would the world be like if we didn't have any governments? In the whole world. They're all gone. Poof. They all vanished, and they all rode off like the Wicked Witch of the West, riding off on her broomstick. All of them and all of their trouble that comes with them. What would the world be like? Now, this is what I'm just asking a question. You guys got an answer for that, And I've been thinking this over. They are nothing but, well, I'm not going to say it. Anyway, how did I get talking about that? Okay, guys, look. We're going to take a look at the silver price today. 2015, it's down 11 cents on the day so far. And I think it went down and touched mining production costs, to tell you the truth, just for a couple days there. Not too long ago either. Let's take a look at gold. I think that's the thing. That's why the price bounced back on gold and silver. I think they actually went down and touched mining production costs. So there wasn't enough profit. And the miners, they'll close down. They can't leave it there. They might be able to do it for a few days, as long as the price goes back up to where they have a little bit of a profit margin. 1776 for gold. It's down $3.40. Crypto's been doing good. It's been holding at 1145 billions. That's 1,145,000,000,000. It's kind of been holding there with a Bitcoin price of 23,956, so right around $24,000, and Ethereum at 1889. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average at 54 points down, at 33,318. Now, what I wanted to show you guys is this drop right here at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, back in 2020, this precipitous drop in the markets. That's what I was expecting to happen again. I told you guys that we were gonna get a drop like that in the markets, and I predicted it was going to go down to 26,000 from 36,000, basically a 10,000 point drop. What we actually got, though, we got a drop from roughly 36,000 down to 30,000. So we got a 6,000 point drop instead of a 10,000 point drop. And I also expected a turnaround in the Fed, and we didn't get that turnaround. So I predicted this drop in the markets that we saw of about 6,000 points. But I also predicted a turnaround. The Fed would turn around. I predicted that it was going to drop down lower than it did, and the Fed would turn around. They haven't turned around. And so I think the difference in my prediction was that they did backdoor stimulus, and they're probably still doing it. I think that's what they're doing. I mean, not an unannounced secret. Do it behind closed doors, but in back rooms. Some sort of stimulus or something, some sort of money creation that I couldn't see and know about. And that's what made the difference between that drop in the markets and also the fact that they're still working at this quantitative tightening, and they haven't given up on it yet. So they're tricky. The Fed are a bunch of tricky. They're secretive, and they're tricky, and they get up there in front of everybody and they kind of mislead you in their Fed statements. Very misleading of the markets and misleading of everybody. But what are they really after? What are they really doing? Well, it's very simple, guys. The Fed prints money for nothing. Money for free. As much as they want. And they buy real things with it. And the middle class people all across North America here, the Fed, what do you think mortgage-backed securities are? It says, oh, the Fed's buying $40 billion a month of mortgage-backed securities. First off, where are they getting that $40 billion? They just create it from thin air. From nothing, from the clouds. Poof, there it is. And they're buying mortgage-backed securities. That's your homes. Mortgages. They bundle them up, your homes, into what they call a security. Mortgage-backed securities is your houses. They're buying your homes of the middle-class people. So they're buying the homes right out from underneath you with money that they get from nothing. What kind of a racket is that? And you know, what they're basically doing is destroying the middle-class people, because by creating this inflation, by creating money for nothing, they're creating a hidden tax. And as that tax grows, and that's what they really want. They want it to grow. They want to keep feeding that money in there into the system. They really want inflation. They're lying to you guys when they're saying, oh, we want to fight inflation. Well, this is just a temporary thing so they can crash the economy and have a huge excuse to bring back the money printer again, heavier and bigger than ever before. So the inflation's going to rob your savings from the bank. So they've already bought your house with mortgage-backed securities, with money they've printed for nothing, and then they're going to rob you of your savings by hitting you with a hidden tax on the money that you have in the bank, so that next year you can't purchase as much with it. And they've been doing that for a very long time. And what they're very slowly doing is they're shrinking the middle class. This is why you see so much poverty in the country. On the country, it used to be the richest country on earth. A country where anybody could make it. Anybody could become a millionaire. I remember watching a Laurel and Hardy film. You guys don't know what Laurel and Hardy is. It was a comedy team from the 1930s. They were really funny. You know, you should look it up on TV. Look it up on YouTube or whatever and get a kick and a laugh out of them. But anyway, Laurel looked over at Hardy, and Hardy was a big fat guy. Laurel was a skinny guy. He said, listen, let's become millionaires. And Hardy says, yeah, that'd be great. We'll become millionaires. So when are we going to get started? He said, we'll get started today. I said, well, how much money you got? He said, well, I just got paid. I made like $3 this week. And Laurel, like, you know, they were both talking, you know. And then they said, well, what are we going to do tonight? We're going to want to go and have a party tonight. He said, yeah, we're going to go have a party. Well, let's spend this money we got because we can be millionaires any old time we want. You know, so let's go spend this money that we made our pay. We'll start next week instead of this week. You know, I mean, this is the kind of thing. Back in America, if you really wanted to work at it, anybody could become what was called a millionaire. Now a millionaire don't mean nothing. Now you got to become a billionaire to mean something. Back in those days, $1 million was a big deal. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling a little bit. Let's take a look at the crude oil. 89.27, and it's down 14 cents. Move index today 113.82. It bounced a little bit below the trend line yesterday. Now it's coming back up a little bit. It went down a little bit below the trend line. I've been following the trend line. Right now, if it was following the trend line, it would have to be up about probably maybe 170 or something to be up to where it should be, to like where it should be. You know, it should be around 170 if it was following this line upwards, but it's been deviating from that lately, going lower than it should be, breaking from the trend. Anyway, here we go. U.S. Treasuries. We're looking at a drop in Treasury yields. The U.S. 10-years at 2.86. It's dropped 7 basis points. And the U.S. 30-year has dropped 6.2 basis points. That's 3.16. And now we're going to finish up with the U.S. dollar index, which has, well, it's just basically bouncing along today. It's going up this morning. Now it's going back down again, but it's roughly at 106.63. Thank you for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.